Hello and welcome to Hops and Bros. Today we're looking at roast, just like my roasted coffee.
For an open window on a crafty world, Max and Chris from Ups and Brews. Ups and Brews. Welcome to Ups and Brews.
Before we get started, there's a link down there to our t-shirt. So if you want a Hops and Bros themed t-shirt, the link is there. They're really cool, very comfortable. I've been wearing this one for a week straight at this point. So check out the link. There's a bunch of different styles, a bunch of different sizes, so take your pick. It's a way for us to make a little money to be able to reinvest in more content for you guys. So take a look, and if you like what you see, then buy a shirt. They're pretty awesome. So roast. Roast is one thing in grain that is extremely important. So as we know, beer is 4 ingredients if you follow the German purity law, and it really is only those 4 ingredients. But with those 4, you can actually create a bunch of different flavors in the way you use the 4 ingredients, in the different varieties you use, and in how you use them. I think I said that first, but anyways. So for example, hops. There's a bunch of different varieties of hops that are going to give you different flavors in your beer. Water profiles, a bunch of different water profiles are going to affect the end result of your beer tremendously, a lot more than what people think. Yeast, something that a lot of people don't really think of when it comes to beer flavor, but it really does affect. I mean, a saison style beer without a saison style yeast is going to taste a lot different, and it probably won't be the style. So you really have to use those 4 ingredients in a very good way to kind of harmonize those flavors. Now, today we're talking about roast. So roasted malt. Malt is the backbone of the sugar content in your beer. That's what your yeast is actually going to ferment. Without malt, there's really no beer. There's no fermentable sugar source. You might as well just throw yeast in water and see what happens. Probably nothing. Anyways, the way it's not pure grain, you know. We're using a lot of barley, we're using some wheat, we're using some oats, we're using some rye, but most of those, especially barley, can't be just used, they're just put in and used. It's got to be processed first. It's called malting, the malting process. So we have to soak the grain, trick it into thinking it has to reproduce, so it's going to germinate. At that point, we kiln it to kind of seal the sugars it created inside of the grain. So that's once we reboil it or reheat it on the brewing side, then we can extract the sugars. Depending on how roasted, how kiln that grain has been, it's going to change the flavors, but it's either going to be high in those fermentable sugars or it might be very, very low. So your best example is to look at Pilsner style malt. Pilsner is very lightly kilned, so there's a bunch of sugars in there. It's the closest thing you'll have to your actual base grain, but it is malted. It's very high in fermentable sugars. Now you take your roasted malt, which is kind of at the other end of the spectrum. Either it's chocolate malt, coffee malt, or just plain out caramel roasted malt. It's going to have been kilned or roasted a lot longer. So all those sugars are pretty much dead. The grain has nothing to give aside from some flavor and color. That's why your porters and your stouts are a little darker. You use a little more of this style of grain. It's also why you have those roasted coffee and even chocolate notes in those porter and those heavier roasted beers like stouts, porters, and even Shorts beer in some cases. You might even get some dark fruits from it. So the roasting process seals in some non-fermentable sugars. It also creates a lot of different flavors. So in different percentages of your grain bill, it's going to add a lot of subtleties to your beer. That's roasted malt. There's probably a lot more to be said, but if you guys are interested in knowing more about roasted malt, please hit us up in the comments below. We'll be happy to answer your questions, and if there's enough, then we might do a second video on it. Have a good morning, guys. Oh, and if you like the video, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you guys in the next one. That's how I usually finish them.